Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, aka the guy that's keeping you on track while Snowpiercer goes off the rails. The 4th episode of the season has just dropped, and if it left you confused, then this video is just the ticket. So sit back whilst we open up the drawers on what's going on in the show. Throughout this video, not only will there be the worst puns ever, there's also going to be a full breakdown of the latest entry whilst we give our thoughts on what exactly is happening. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, then I highly recommend that you check out right now. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing as we do breakdowns on the show every week, and please drop a thumbs up as it massively helps us out. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown of Snowpiercer episode 4. Okay, so the episode opens from the POV of Jinjoo, one of the most mysterious characters in the show. As she prepares a fish dish for Beth, we watch as the serial killer stands in the room where he's just slaughtered Nicky J. Jinjoo gives the history of Wilford and confirms that she's a scientist, and this is likely why she's so far up the train, as she's instrumental in keeping it running. Though we have thought that she may be aware that Melanie is secretly masquerading as the mechanical megalomaniac, she refers to Wilford as if he's still running things, so I'm not even sure anymore whether she's in on the conspiracy or not. Of the openings so far, I probably think that this one is the weakest, as there wasn't really much to take from it and it pretty much just acts as an intro for the sake of it. It's kind of like how I have to force myself to write these terrible puns in my introductions for these videos, and hey, they don't always work, as we saw from the start of this video. After the titles, in the quote-unquote engine room, we see Bennett going to meet Melanie. I love how the room is adorned with red tape, which, as we see in the intro, symbolizes the journey that the train goes on. As this is the room where all the decisions are made, it makes the most sense to have this iconography here. Melanie once more wears an MIT hoodie, but we can also see that she wears a cap that looks like it says Yale Engineering. So the engine room might actually be short for the engineering room, and it is possible that Melanie is actually an engineer. We know that she isn't really Wilford, so in order to be this far up the train, she would likely have to have had occupied a prominent position in her life before it. So Melanie has likely taken the hospitality position in order to spy on the lower parts of the vessel. Whenever there's been something to fix on board Snowpiercer, she normally deals with it firsthand, and in this interaction she discusses a methane problem on board, so she's very much enveloped in the mechanical side of things. So, taking all of this information, I actually believe that Melanie was likely an engineer that worked at the front and then overthrew Wilford to take power. She also divulges that she was born on a dirt farm and came from nothing, so I do think that we can finally put the Melanie is actually Wilford theories to bed now. Beth and Jinjoo discuss the former dating up train, and it's interesting to see how the class systems of relationships are still confined by the rules of a society that no longer exists. More pressing matters arise when Nicky J's body is discovered, and this was found by Henry. I don't know why the hell I kept calling him Clint in the video last week. I'm sure I heard them call him that, but hey, I guess you mishear things when you get up at 5 AM on a Monday to do a YouTube video for about 20 people. I'm just kidding, I love you, and thank you for sticking with me as well. Now, Layton and the brakeman realise that the killer is likely still in third due to the borders being closed in the wake of fight night. It's not too long before the hunt is on, and I love that as they were going over the details of the carriages, Commander Gray told Layton to keep his eyes up. Obviously, they don't know that Layton is trying to make a map of the train so that the tail can start their revolution, so this was a nice little conversation that shows Gray is aware of just how bad things could go should the tail discover it. The tail, of course, vastly overpopulate 3rd, 2nd and 1st, and should they start a revolution, it would likely go one way. This of course mirrors real-world events right now, in which we see a vast majority of people protesting the authoritarian figures in society. The tail are seeking equality, much like those protesting are, and as we've all seen, the people in power don't seem too interested in their plight. I don't want to derail the video, even if I am dropping some crap puns, but I did appreciate these moments. Snowpiercer has always been laced with political subtext, and seeing it go throughout these tiny little interactions really hammers home just how good the show is. Audrey even tells Layton that she does want to see change, and thus this adds more weight to the theory of Third and the Tail joining one another in order to fight those above them. In the Tail, Josie and Co pour over the access chip that was smuggled out through Layton. During the episode, she sneaks up through the cars in order to get in contact with Layton, and though they're often brushed over, the tale definitely continue to provide an interesting aspect of the plot. Another interesting thing that mirrors our world is that as she moves up through the trains, her temperature is taken to see if she has any diseases, and she's then cleaned. This is of course being put in place at most airports right now in order to stop coronavirus. Up train, Layton goes to first and passes several famous paintings, including Sunflowers by Van Gogh and The Girl with the Pearl Earring. It's often been argued that the pearl earring is actually a piece of tin, and many have gone back and forth over whether it symbolises wealth or poverty trying to portray wealth. Its use here could be how those in first act all high and mighty, like they're better than everyone else, but when you see what they actually have, it's very little. Sure, they possess fine clothing and artwork, but in terms of how it actually improves their life, it becomes meaningless. They all seem to distrust one another, whereas the tale don't, and on the whole, their lives offer very little to the economy and life on the train. In fact, if you've seen the film, then you'll know that the tale provides an essential service, whereas First really doesn't. That's kinda how I took this painting's usage, but it probably means nothing and I'm just reaching. Hey, look, we'll have to make these videos 10 minutes somehow, right? Anyway, in First, Layton runs amok and immediately realises that the bodyguards are missing. LJ throws hers under the bus, or rather train, and I think this hints early on that she was behind the whole thing. They also talk about how he had a gun, which I remember seeing earlier in the series. LJ did tell him to put it away. As we thought, guns aren't allowed on Snowpiercer, and this disarmament was put in place to make the tale hand over their weapons. However, it turns out that First didn't, and I guess it's one rule for the elite and another one for everyone else. Realizing that their bodyguard is of no longer use, the Folgers demand to speak to Mr. Wilford, and if you've been following our breakdowns, you'll know that we think that they're already aware that Wilford isn't running the train. However, I think I might actually have been wrong on that theory, and I do think that it's just LJ that knows the truth, and this is why they don't speak to him on the phone. Melanie calls their bluff on asking for Wilford, and thus they're allowed to investigate the Folgers' cabin. Here they find a J-hook for beekeeping that we actually learn was used by LJ to castrate Eric the killer. Layton discovers the truth about her commanding him to kill people, and it's clear that he was at the whim of every beck and call. He also meets a cat called Snowpiercer, which puts my puns to shame, I must admit. They discuss how fear is a weapon, and in the same way that the tale are thought of as cannibals, she is using the killer to drive fear into those in First. The two agree to make a deal to help the tale, but Layton sells her out and LJ is locked away. However, she likely knows the truth about Melanie from the victims all being connected to Wilford, and I think it would totally turn the show on its head if it came out. LJ will have visitors, and thus she'll be able to tell everything she knows about what's really going on. So Melanie will likely be put in a vulnerable position, as she will have to cover up the truth should LJ know it, all whilst keeping up the facade that things aren't descending into chaos. Melanie does something drastic at the end of the episode, which we'll talk about in just a bit, but yeah, it looks like things are going to be out in the open very soon. Elsewhere, we join Josie, and I think the train passes the Grand Canyon at one point, and she sneaks about whilst on a break from the sanitation work. Here she meets with an ally that was moved up from the tail, and together they devise a plan to help one another. She agrees to pass on a message to Layton, and even shares some of her food. One tail, one goal, one man, one soul. I'm sorry, I'll stop. The killer is also caught in the market car, and he runs and takes Jinjoo hostage. Jinjoo discovers it was a girl commanding him by the language he uses, so it probably was a smart move by Layton to sell LJ out. However, he was still doomed to whatever Melanie had in store, and the episode ends with her drugging him and locking him away in a drawer. Obviously, he's not going to be trapped forever, as well I've seen the trailer, and I know he's not, but there's also a clue in the intro, I think. In that we can see a body sliding out of a drawer, and I think this symbolises him waking up. Now when this will happen, we don't know for definite, but he will eventually get out, and thus the secret will too. You just can't put all your problems in a drawer and lock them away, Melanie, but I can see the strategy behind it. She could just tell those in First, Second and Third that Layton had returned to the tale, and she could also tell a tale that he just ended up living in Third. However, she doesn't know that the tale know about what's going on, and so I think that the revolution is actually going to come really soon in order to set him free. It would be crazy if that happened in the next episode or even just the one after it, but yeah, I do think that things are going to kind of be flipped upside down very soon. Anyway, that's a big mystery over with, and I was actually surprised at how early we got answers in the series over the killer. I think the attention will now turn to keeping Melanie's secret secret, and slowly more and more people are starting to learn about it. Again, this was a brilliant episode, and I'm really loving the show right now. The first 4 have been great, and I'm so glad that it's going full steam ahead rather than picking up late on. Layton, because his name's Layton. Anyway, obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the 3rd episode and, you know, what you're thinking of the series so far. Comment below and let me know, and if you enjoy this video, yeah, just hit the like button and make sure you check out our breakdown of the series so far if you've missed any episodes. We've gone over the first 3 and given our fan theories, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. Every month on the 15th we give away free Blu-rays, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning the Marvel Phase 3 Part 2 box set is leave a like, leave a comment and subscribe with notifications on. If you want to support us from as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below. You can also come chat to us on our Discord server, link below, or at Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. Hope to see you over there very soon, and thank you for sticking with me until the end of the video. Take care. This is a channel for people who are never missing television, so if that's the kind of thing you like, you need to subscribe to Definition. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this. You've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.